Oh, and it's time to talk a little bit of pro wrestling as we do every single Thursday live here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It is the Coach and Bro Show, the fastest growing pro wrestling show in all of America. Now today, a very special day because coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to have one of the most controversial figures in the life of Hulk Hogan here live on the show. Bubba the Love Sponge. Also, do not forget 2 to 4 Eastern Time today. It is Off the Ropes on Sirius XM channel 156. But let's waste no time bringing in my man from russosbrand.com, Vince Russo. Vince, you booked Bubba today. What are you hoping to get out of the interview when he joins us in a few minutes?
The one thing I want to find out is, how did Bubba find out there was a real issue at the beginning? Because, apparently the story was that Hulk was just going in for surgery, and I think they were saying it was, neck spinal surgery. But at some point, that turned very, very dark. And I want to find out how Bubba found that out early on. Did somebody reach out to him? Did he reach out to their camp?
Right.
Because this was just supposed to be a routine. I don't want to say routine. Nothing's routine when it's this serious. But this was just supposed to be an operation, one of many that Hulk has had over the years.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that if Hulk thought he had something serious going on, I don't think he ever would have launched the new wrestling league that him and Eric Bischoff teamed up on, that they are moving forward with this very, very soon. If you're sick or if you're terminally ill in any way, shape, or form, you're not doing that. So I don't think Hulk was sick prior to a month or two before he died, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Coach. And then again, hearing after the fact he had leukemia, like, did he not know he had leukemia? Did he really have? There is so much mystery wrapped around this. And the reality of it is, Bubba is really, Bubba and Brooke, they're really the only two asking questions. Everybody is just accepting everything. There's been no autopsy. There's been no official cause of death. We still don't know if he had a heart operation when he was in there. There's so many things we don't know. And that's the thing, Bubba is really trying to find answers, and I give him credit for that.
Yeah, part of the reason is up until several years ago, he was his best friend. They were inseparable. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation. I'm excited to get him on. He'll be here about 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time live. But in the meantime, some other news came out yesterday, Vince. And this is a big one because we've talked a lot about what will it take for ESPN to get people to pay the $30, which will be the most expensive app in the history of apps, especially in entertainment. This is almost 3 times what a normal app would cost. And it was supposed to be Wrestlemania 2026 that the PLEs would leave Peacock and go over to this ESPN app. Something happened in the last week because they announced yesterday that they're going to start with WrestlePalooza in September. So in a month, they're going to start the PLEs. Peacock is still going to be involved because they're going to get the Saturday night's main events, and no longer will they air on NBC. So it's like a merry-go-round of where is WWE going to land. But the big news, Vince, is they're going to start on that app. So you don't have 8 months to wait to pay the $30 if you want to get these wrestling PLEs.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. That is huge news, but I kind of feel the bigger news, Coach, and I really want to see how you feel about this. I feel the bigger news is taking that Saturday night main event off of NBC, where they have the potential to get a huge audience. A lot of people maybe that don't watch wrestling anymore certainly wouldn't pay for wrestling. NBC is still a free platform. They're now taking that and moving that over to Peacock. Now, Coach, we talk about this all the time. We understand it's about the almighty dollar. But I still think, listen, network television is not what it once was, but I still think that was a huge platform for them on NBC.
It was. But here's the deal, Vince, because I just did this yesterday. I went in to do something, and all of a sudden a full screen came up, and it said I had to agree. Peacock is raising their price from $7.99 to $10.99, up $3 on September 14th, which is right before I'm looking at the dates in my head, before the PLEs leave. So they're going to raise, and a lot of people we know, Vince, because I do it all the time. I don't erase a lot of apps, and I forget, and then my credit cards get charged like that $8, $9, $10. You're absolutely right, but I think for NBC, that they'd rather have the $11 from people on Peacock than worry about a rating on network TV. How that has changed is amazing to me.
Yeah, Coach, listen, I am not, we always talk about this. It's business. And the bottom line in business is making money. You're in business to make money, period, end of story. But Coach, I don't know about you, but I'm trying to follow what's on where, and they are on so many different platforms. And listen, man, we see the NFL doing this. The NFL is doing the same exact thing, but it's getting to the point, man, that they are on so many platforms at this point. I'm just getting totally confused as a viewer, Coach.
Well, I saw a tweet, and the way they word these tweets or these press conferences or press releases, they said, well, Peacock is still going to be involved in top level premium talent programming. And basically they meant Saturday night's main event, because these networks, it also proves to me, Vince, how badly these networks want to stay in business with WWE. Because Peacock, I don't know if you knew this, but NBC obviously owns the USA Network. USA and Golf Channel are going to morph together and form a thing called USA Sports. So SmackDown is on USA, and SmackDown then airs on Peacock 30 days after the original air date. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No, did not.
I did the homework last night. So you can watch SmackDown. You watch SmackDown on Peacock 30 days after. And the other big part is this, because they announced it as part of this announcement yesterday, that Cena's last match will now be on Peacock instead of on NBC. So now they're going to get people to pay that $10.99 to watch Cena's last match December 13th in Boston as a part of Saturday night's main event.
Coach, what do you think about the timing of all this? Because as I just said, we're just getting into the start of NFL. We're getting into the start of football season. And the NFL did the same exact thing. You used to get the direct ticket, and that was that. And then they sold to Netflix, and they sold to Peacock, and they sold. All of a sudden, we need 5 subscriptions. I don't know if it's a good idea for the WWE to do this the same exact time that the NFL is about to kick off, because, people are going to have to start looking at their dollars. I mean, the average person, Coach, only has so much to go around.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Also, one other nugget is that since the PLEs are going to ESPN in September, it's almost like they got into a room and said, hey, let's play in the sandbox together. So 2 other things they did, Vince. Rumors are that WWE Raw is going to move up an hour during football season, because Monday Night Football is where? It's on ESPN. So it starts at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. So Raw will now start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So you'll have an hour and 15 minutes that's not head up against game action. Then they also went to, if you go to the tabs on ESPN.com, they had an AEW tab. They had AEW news and notes all the time.
Gone.
That is now gone. No more AEW news on ESPN.com. And me and my crew started the wrestling stuff on ESPN 10 years ago. Yeah. So for me, this is telling me we desperately want to play in the playbox or the sandbox with WWE, making all of these moves 8 months sooner than expected. Over $500, Vince, if you want to get all of WWE programming this year, and they say pay-per-view is dead. Is it really? Is it really? Because that's almost more than people pay, including pay-per-views, because fans don't get every single pay-per-view. Some will just get the big 4. Some get all of them. But this is a way to take pay-per-view out the window. And to your point, I saw a graphic on Twitter every single day of the week, just about. WWE has a show somewhere almost every single week.
Man, Coach, I have to tell you, man, I've got to go back to the baseball card craze. When my son was born, I said, I'm going to buy him the top set every year when he was born. all of a sudden baseball cards started taking off, and you went to the store and you had 20 brands to choose from. So now I would walk into a store, I didn't know what to buy anymore because there were so many choices. So guess what, Coach? I bought nothing. Because now I was so confused. I just feel like, and this is me, but I just feel like I'm getting very, very confused with what's on where at what time and how much is it going to cost me.
Well, I've heard other people say, well, Coach, and you just alluded to it, the NFL does the same thing, but the NFL is one product with 32 teams.
Right.
The WWE is one product with 3 teams. That's a huge difference. So you're going to get something absolutely new no matter where you go to watch the NFL, because it's a new game. And that's why it is so valuable to have if you're Netflix or whoever. But when you have the WWE and it's only a few, you're talking Monday night's Netflix, Tuesday is what, the CW with NXT, or is NXT Wednesday, Evolve is on Tubi, Thursday. See, I'm already getting confused. And Coach, you got to ask yourself, is this just the start of it? Because, now if anybody approaches the WWE that they want to get in the game, sure, we'll create a show for you. Absolutely. Listen, there's nothing on Sunday morning at 9:00. We'll make a show for you. But here, again, I'm always the writer and I'm always the creator. And to me, the more product there is, just the more watered down this product is going to be. Because, and they won't admit it, but we talk about it here, and I do believe they watch us here because they make a lot of changes that we talk about, is when you have an organization, because I work obviously with the PFL, you never want to admit if you don't have enough, talent. And I still feel if it was Monday, Tuesday, I still feel like talent would go to both shows. Since it's Monday and Friday, getting talent to fly out twice a week, that would be absolutely brutal. But so they will not admit, Vince, they don't have enough talent to fill up all of these shows, which is why the LFG show, I don't know if you watched it, but they have the same talent now that they had last season. Several of the same talent, they just grown just a little bit. So to me, if you don't have enough talent, why are you continuing to add shows if it's not just to add another check?
Well, Coach, let me go on top of that because this is really comical. They don't have enough talent, Coach, and they're still going to try to keep the brand split alive. Think about that. If I'm the WWE and I'm Triple H right now, okay, we're ending the brand split. We need everybody, all hands on board. They're still going to try to implement a brand split with all these shows all week long.
Wow, it is. And I'm sure it's exciting if you're there. If I was running it, if I'm just taking a step back, it's exciting. And we say it all the time. We will give them credit. They know how to make money. They know how to do these deals. But now that these deals are done, how motivated will they be to get the next deal in 9 years? Because 10 years, as we know, especially when you get a little bit older like us, it flies by. That 10-year deal or 9-year deal is going to be like that. Yeah. So we'll see. They've really got to step up now because these companies like ESPN or Paramount Plus, they're paying top dollar. They expect a top shelf program.
And they should, rightfully so. Yep.
All right, guys, we have a very, very, very special show today. So coming up on the other side of our first break, he is going to join us live. He is one of the men who was closest to Hulk for a lot of his adult life, estranged towards the end. What did he think really happened? How surprised was he when Brooke Hogan called into his show live for an hour? And when did he first get wind that there was really something wrong with the icon named Hulk Hogan? We will ask all of those questions, as coming up next, Bubba the Love Sponge will join us live right here on the Coach and Bro Show, which every single Thursday we are live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time right here on Stadium. Come on back. No, producer, and wait until the second break. So Vince, he's here. He's ready to go. We're going to bring him on as soon as we get back from commercial break. But these are the shows that I get super excited about, because we don't break just down Raw and SmackDown by the segment. We break down the biggest stories in wrestling here at the Coach and Bro Show.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Coach. And we said we were going to do that from the start. A lot of shows reporting on the same things. And, man, Bubba, I've got to say, Bubba was DMing me about Hulk literally 4 to 6 weeks before he passed away.
You told me all about it.
Yeah, nobody was listening to him, but he was so specific on details. I'm like, there's something going on. I didn't doubt him from day one.
Yeah, I didn't either, because you were giving me the details. And obviously, it's tough to come on a show and talk about them if you're not sure and you don't want to speak for him. So when he agreed to come on the show today, I was like, man, we're finally going to get some answers from him, because let's be honest, Hulk Hogan is the biggest name in the history of pro wrestling, and I don't think it's close. Do you? The biggest name?
No. And listen, I'm not saying that because he's no longer with us. I was saying that, Coach, every time I was asked about Mount Rushmore. There's nobody close to the front of that, in my opinion. And you and I both worked with the greats.
Yep.
I still am struggling with him not being here. Like I really, it's still, there's a part of me where it still hasn't sunk in yet.
I think there's certain athletes or people that pass away that, like, people still talk about Kobe Bryant like he is here.
Yeah.
Like he never passed away in that tragic helicopter accident. I think Hogan's probably going to be the same way, because he was just around our lives in something we loved for so long, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it really kind of hit me the other day, because we talked about it, but we haven't really kind of accepted it yet, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, we are getting ready to come back. And when we come back in 10 seconds, we will be joined by the one and only Bubba the Love Sponge. We're back on the Stadium Network in just 5 seconds. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's the Coach and Bro Show live every single Thursday here on the Stadium Network and everywhere that stadium is. And we are going to waste no time bringing our very special guest on to join me and Vince Russo. And we're so pleased and honored that he would take the time to join us today. The one and only Bubba the Love Sponge. Bubba, welcome to the show. First and foremost, thank you for the time. I got to jump right in. And there's been so many headlines on TMZ and all, and you've been everywhere. My first question that we want to ask you, what do you really think happened ultimately that led to Hulk Hogan's death?
I think Eric Bischoff killed him. I think that he went in for this neck procedure. He had complications with it, and so he went in for like a revised version of it. And they told him, and I'm just going to get to, I mean, that's kind of the short answer of it, but the long form answer is they told him for 4 to 6 weeks, we need you to stay in what they call a Vegas brace, which is basically just kind of a glorified, kind of like when you'd see Paul Heyman and those guys wear those over the top neck braces, because they got spudded with the chair. Well, that's what a Vegas brace is called. And they told Terry, after his second procedure on this complication he was having on this neck deal, that he needed to stay somewhat bedridden and home and not no lifting weights, not even, they didn't even really want him really going down to the beach club or anything like that. And for 4 to 6 weeks, and within 48 hours, he's out promoting his beer brand, his wrestling federation. And, so and Eric, I think, was part of both of them. And, I think that his handlers and his investors, of course, I put all the heat on Eric Bischoff because I think he's a piece of crap. But I think that his handlers and his investors killed him at the end of the day. And I don't know if I can play this audio down, if you guys hear this or not. Let me know if you guys hear this or not.
Okay.
Did you guys hear that? Let me hear it right. Hold on. You can't hear that?
No, can't hear that.
Okay.
Sorry.
But on June 18th, I got on the air and I said, if you did some sniffing around, this is June 18th, and this is the day after I get kind of my insider information that he is at the hospital, and they have actually called family members, and Vince and I spoke a little bit via DM, And to listen, to Vince Russo's credit, he's the only dude that has any wrestling cred, if you will, that wasn't calling me a whack job. Like I'm just a complete whack job. I'm a click hound. I'm a clout chaser. Me and Hogan had an estranged relationship, but I'm just trying to make him look bad and all this kind of deal. So on June 18th, I got information that they had made phone calls. Well, I'm talking about the Bischoffs, the Skies, the Jimmy Harts, that they had made phone calls saying that it's not good and that you need to come say your goodbyes. And so I doubled down on that. And that was kind of, and I think that, probably you guys being so involved in wrestling and maybe getting something that's kayfabe. So when you get a little bit of something that's kayfabe, a lot of times people will, and you get that little bit of information, then people come out of the woodwork and kind of give you more, if you throw a little crap against the wall, sometimes then you can get more just based on, so that's kind of what happened. So I went from knowing a little bit, and that was that the family was gathered around. He was hospitalized for having complications on this neck deal. There was a heart issue, there was all types of deals. And then I started getting calls from like nurses that worked the floor, valet guys that park cars at the hospital. I start getting, a plethora of information, none of which was family. And it was I was probably 90%, right. And so I start getting more and more information. And so I start getting more and more brazen and start kind of putting the pieces to the puzzle that would get me more information, which I deciphered as being good. And I would come out with it. And so then I started challenging, his attorney locally is named Ken Trickel, and he knows my attorney. And so you guys know, being in broadcasting, that if you say something slanderous or defamatory or liable, that a lot of times the way it works is they'll give you what they call a 770 notice, and that gives you an opportunity to retract the statement, say that you're sorry, and potentially correct what you said was wrong. And so I kept getting more and more brazen. More pieces of the puzzle started coming together. It was going completely against what Bischoff and Jimmy Hart and everybody was saying. And so I would get on the air and say, if I'm wrong, serve me a 770.
Right.
Correct me. Tell me that I'm a fat ass, loudmouth, no good piece of crap, and never got it. And I would never got one. I would beg. I'd be like, listen, Ken Trickel, tell me that he's not in Morton Platte Hospital right now on a feeding tube. Nothing.
Nobody did. Okay.
Next day, I just lay the boots in a little harder, and eventually, now the one thing that I was wrong on is when they sent him home, I didn't know that he was actually more healthy than what I portrayed. When they sent him home on that Sunday, I know the woman who cut his hair. He got his hair cut. Hogan was so narcissistic and so vain that you guys probably know this, and Vince, you certainly do, with seeing him with his cap off, but he had hair extensions. So I know the woman that did his hair extensions, and she would go to his house to do them. So she did his hair extensions that Sunday when he got, the Thursday that he died, the Sunday prior, she did his hair extensions, and she called me up and was like, hey, he's not nearly as bad as you say he is. Like, he was getting around on a walker, and he didn't have any machines. I had reported that they sent a few machines home in a hospital bed. The only thing I was right about on that is they did send a hospital bed because he was more comfortable in that type of bed than a regular bed. But he didn't have any machines, and he was getting around pretty good. Bischoff then came to town on Monday, on Monday, met with him, and I think truthfully reported that he was getting around pretty good, except for his voice was a little, not as strong as it was. Jimmy reported that he saw him on Wednesday, and he was actually, by the reports that I'm getting, which are really good reports, I've since become, as you guys know, Brooke Hogan kind of blindsided me one day with a phone call that really, God, was a tearjerker, made me start crying and everything. But he was getting better. And that's where I was wrong. Now I was right. I was right that he was in the hospital and that there was touch and go and all this kind of deals, but he was getting better. And just that Wednesday night, he took a turn and died Thursday morning. And it's my belief. Now, Clearwater PD will not release any of the investigation. This is kind of my new hot spot right now is Clearwater PD will not release any of the investigation. They will not release any of the 911 tapes. They will not release any information at all. And Hogan's primary physician was a guy named Dr. Fitzgerald. And Dr. Fitzgerald has been written up by the DEA and the state of Florida, 2 or 3 times for being a pill doctor. And you guys all know, all the boys, when back in the day, Vince, when they're doing 300 nights a week, all the boys are always in the back trading gimmicks. What do you got? I got a Soma. I need a Vike. You guys all know that's probably part of the business that nobody really wants to talk about, but it happens. Yep. And my good friend, one of my very best friends, Test, had a pill problem, and I went through today, just all the boys from Kurt Hennig to Test to Brian Adams to just all the guys that we've lost because of alcohol and a pill problem, and then they don't wake up. So this doctor that was his primary physician had already been written up by the state of Florida for contributing to somebody else's death based on overprescription of opioids. And that was the guy that signed the death certificate for Hogan. Now, the medical examiner didn't do 1 ounce of investigation on his death. And there was no autopsy given because the Clearwater PD says there's no wrongdoing here. So I've been raising hell lately by saying, if you got the #1 doctor in Pinellas County that's been written up for overprescribing pills, and let's not forget, they're in the ambulance report and in the police report, you can see that they gave Hogan 2 shots of Narcan. They administered Narcan 2 different times. So you look at my hairdresser that saw him on Sunday, gets back to me and says, he's on a walker. He's pretty good. Then you get Bischoff. He might have actually told the truth for once. And he said, I was down there on Monday, probably because he was trying to protect his investment. You already had Hogan scheduled to go off the high rope in Cleveland. And he reports that Hogan was doing pretty good. Jimmy saw him on Wednesday, and he was getting around pretty good. And Thursday morning, he dies. So it's my belief that, and this is shocking, and people are going to say, and maybe Vince and Coach, maybe you might be the only guy that maybe backs me or may say Bubba might be onto something. I think Hogan over-medicated himself and died of pill overdose.
Well, it's really strange. We're going to take a quick break here, but we want to obviously keep you on because we have plenty more questions for you. But
for you too. Coach, awesome. I'm glad to meet you. I've been a big fan. Now I've known Russo for a long time, especially when he stuck up for me at TNA when they wanted to fire me.
No doubt. That was a really well spoken what happened, but we want to get into your relationship. I was actually in Jacksonville and was listening live when Brooke called into your show. You absolutely were taken by surprise. We have to take a quick commercial break. But sure. On the other side, we continue our conversation with Bubba the Love Sponge on what really happened to Hulk Hogan, his relationship with Brooke. The icon has passed away, but there's still plenty more questions to what really, really happened. So we'll take a quick break. On the other side, this is the Coach and Bro Show. We are live, as always, every single Thursday morning, brand new, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Stadium Network. We'll be back here on the other side. Take a quick break with Bubba the Love Sponge. All right, we have a quick two-minute break.
Okay, great.
But let's continue on for about 2 minutes, and we'll be back on the Stadium Network. Bubba, real quick, on the Brooke situation. You absolutely you absolutely did not know she was going to call, correct?
No, and it was so mind blowing that I didn't really know that it was. Listen, somebody screwed with me before and did a Hogan AI call one time where I answered the phone and it was like, "Listen, brother, I forgive everything that you did. You're my boy. Take some gimmicks today. Go train. Hit the jet skis." And I'm like, I was like, you know, and it was an AI deal. So I was like, okay. So I thought it was initially AI because I thought if there's one person that really, really hates me, it's Brooke because of the nature of the sex tape involving the N-word, which was about her. So I was like, for all these years, I was like, I'm never going to get a hold of her, because she hates my guts. And her husband had heard me stick up Linda. When Linda went off the rails that one time, I actually stuck up for Brooke on the things that I'd seen, growing up with the family and the abuse that I saw. And I didn't know Brooke had an opportunity to catch my show, but her husband, the former NHL guy, heard me stick up for Brooke and kinda, and then Brooke really just kind of sought me out and really gave me some information that really could have changed my life. I mean, really kind of showed you how much of a piece of crap Hogan was to me, and he could have really have not buried me as bad as I got buried. But I gotta take some onus in the whole situation, but Hogan could have let me off the hook a little bit. I mean, I did a hell of a job for him in depositions, and I made him I made Hulk Hogan more money than anybody ever's made him.
Wow.
Nobody's done a $60 million job for him before.
No doubt. All right, we're gonna be back in about 20 seconds.
Hey, Coach, can I jump in there real quick when we start? When we start.
Yeah, from the start. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, let Vinny R in there.
Yeah, we're still live, guys. We're still live. On our YouTube. We'll be back on Amazon, DirecTV, YouTube TV in 5 seconds. All right, welcome back, everybody. The Coach and Bro Show continues here with Bubba the Love Sponge on the Stadium Network. Vince, I know you have the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to follow up, Bubba, real quick on how you ended, that last segment. There was not an autopsy performed. Now there's been some kabuki-ish happenings, whereas there was a funeral for Hulk Hogan. And Brooke has said, I've heard Brooke said, Hogan did not want a funeral. And that's one of the reasons why Brooke didn't go to the funeral. Hogan wanted to be cremated and he wanted his ashes to be spread out over the ocean. That's what Brooke said. So my question to you is, Bubba, there was not an autopsy performed. Where is Hogan's body? I mean, was there a cremation? Was he buried, or is it still available to do an autopsy?
It is absolutely the biggest kabuki high spot ever, in the fact that I don't think he's been cremated yet. I think the latest pressure that I've put on Sky. Here's the thing: Sky, his ex-wife of 2.5 years, she's in control of it all. The state of Florida states that no matter your child, you would think that Brooke and Nick would have an unbelievable amount of say-so here.
Right.
Actual blood. But Sky is the one that determines whether he gets an autopsy or not. And at first there was going to be no autopsy. And so now, based on Brooke's pressure I don't know if you guys saw her Instagram last night.
Oh, yeah.
But based on Brooke putting some pressure, I called the actual Clearwater Police Department today and said, listen, do your job and do an autopsy. You can't let the person that signed off on the death certificate be the pill popping, pill prescribing doctor. That be the only guy. That guy has a dog in the fight with regards to potentially covering his ass.
There's no question. So
I'm like, okay, you got arguably the most popular person in Florida, let alone the world. Just like Matthew Perry died in Los Angeles. They knew that there was some kabuki crap went on there. And so, rightfully so, the LA coroner, medical examiner went and did an autopsy. They found that he had ketamine in his system that was laced with fentanyl. And then they went and rolled it back 5 dealers deep and arrested 5 people. So there's Vince, there is so much kabuki stuff going on that, first of all, there was no body in the casket. I don't know if anybody knows that or not, but there was no body in the casket. 2, he's at a morgue right now. And Sky, now the medical examiner could say, we're doing an autopsy. We're doing it. And I don't, doesn't matter what Sky says, doesn't matter what, but we're doing an autopsy because the medical examiner, we all probably grow up with Quincy. Remember Quincy? And at the end of so our equivalent to Quincy, they don't answer to anybody. If they walk out one day and the wind's blowing a little hard and they want to do 5 autopsies, they can do it, or they cannot. They only are obligated to do autopsies if there's some funny business or some suspicion or something like that. And I would, with all the kabuki stuff that's going down on, if I was the medical examiner, I would cover my ass and do at least a toxology report to find out what was in Terry's system, because that could determine what really happened. You just can't sign off on a heart attack, smart attack, and that's what happened. You've got to get to maybe what potentially caused the heart attack. Did Terry take too many Percocets that night? Again, there's just so many unanswered questions here, including, has he been cremated? And Sky and the Clearwater PD are holding all this information so close to their chest. And the more popular you are, the more transparent you've got to be with people.
Let me jump in, Bubba, because there's going to be a lot of people who watch this today that say, well, he hasn't even had a relationship with Hulk Hogan for years and years. So my 2 questions: did you have a relationship since everything went down between you and him? And why are you so adamant about getting to the bottom of this now if you didn't? That's a lot of questions I got today.
2, first question is no, I have not. I wish I did. The information that Brooke gave me only made me more upset at Terry that he didn't give me a lifeline and we didn't have a relationship. His outcome and listen, Vince will tell you he's all about the money. I mean, he did Vince wrong on on Bash at the Beach just so he could go back to Turner and try to sue him. Hell, Vince, he called my show the next morning and completely lied about it. Yeah. I mean, to try to set himself up for that lawsuit that he lost at the end of the day. And he had me, but he called my show and sold it like he wasn't in on it. Right? You heard it. And so I was like, hey, Vince, man, don't get mad at me. That's just what he said. Like he was. Yeah. And so here he is hard selling it with me. I thought it was a shoot. I thought your promo was a shoot. Yeah. And so, but what we know is he was setting himself up for that lawsuit that he lost. So Hogan, I love Hogan to death. He's the godfather of my son. He was the best man of my wedding. But I always have a lot of respect for him and his daughter and his son. And so I've always had a reputation in radio, whatever, of asking the hard questions, maybe getting to the bottom line of some things that people won't ask. And I'm not going to let, whether he was my friend or not, this is a real kabuki situation that, consider me the union rep for the wrestling fan, if you will. And I think the wrestling fan, wants to know, or how did Hogan really die? Did he really die of a heart attack? And if that's what he did, then that's great. But at their disposal, they could give us those answers, and they're not. They're being real shady about it, real secretive about it. Now, also add in the wrinkle, the 800-pound elephant that nobody wants to talk about, but Sky is a former Scientologist.
That's exactly what I was just going to say, Bubba, because some interesting things about that. She's this is Brooke now. Brooke passed along this information. She's a former Scientologist. Her parents were high-ranking officials.
Are the highest. Now, Coach, here's the interesting thing.
Hulk and Sky were having some issues, and this is Brooke saying this now. The conversation she's having with her dad, and Sky was really pushing to get married, and Brooke was telling him, Dad, you don't have to get married. I mean, you could date or whatever. You don't have to get married. Then Brooke said the next phone call from Hulk was, Sky and I are getting married.
Brooke even said Brooke even said to Terry, use me as the heel.
Yeah,
use me as say, listen, you always say that if your kids don't feel right about something, you wouldn't go through it. So if Vince, I'm sure she was going to be the heel on the deal.
Yes. And then she asked him, why are you marrying her if that's not what you want to do? He said to Brooke,
listen to this. I know what he's going to say. Listen to this.
Because if I don't, it won't be good.
She knows too much. It won't be good.
He said that
to his daughter. To his daughter. And also, I'm probably talking out of church a little bit here, out of turn, but I can get a guy named, there was a guy, and I'm going to have him on my show once this all calms down, because listen, I live down here, and you really have to be listen, you guys don't understand, when you live down here, you've got to be mindful of these Scientologist people. They've made people disappear before. And David Mustavish, the CEO of Scientology, his wife Shelley has, and maybe you know this, Vince, has not been seen since 2007, and everybody just lets it go willy-nilly because they are so powerful, and they're just you got to be mindful. So as I'm throwing out these landmines of accusations that there might be a Scientology twist to it, Sky was a former Scientologist, and I was told that her direct gimmick, so to speak, in Scientology would be to find these whales, these big spending whales, and would be kind of like a honeypot gimmick, and go and get them signed up. And Vince, I don't know if you've heard that or too, but that she was that prior to meeting to Terry, she was kind of the honeypot gimmick for these big whales that were on the fence of joining Scientology. So you got a Scientology twist to this. You got a Clearwater PD who is basically controlled by the Scientologist. They won't give us the report. They won't even give us, if we could just hear the 911 call of the ambulance talking to the hospital and what they were doing. I've had 3 or 4 paramedics call my show saying we could put the pieces of the puzzle together if we could hear what they were saying to the hospital. Like, is he completely dead? Is it an opiate overdose? That's why we're doing a double shot of Narcan. He was already pre-wired for kidney dialysis. I mean,
Bubba, real quick, we got 2 minutes left. Why haven't we? Because with every other situation, you get body cam footage, you have stuff released. How come there's been nothing released in this situation?
I think there's real kabuki stuff going on. In my opinion, I think the doctor prescribed him some gimmicks. I think Hogan took the gimmicks. I think the gimmicks killed him in the middle of the night, just like we've seen many times before. His body used to be able to take 4 or 5 Percocets when we were partying back together. They probably couldn't at that time. And I have a feeling that, they don't want that out. That certainly is not how they want the immortal Hulk Hogan to go out, nor do any of us want it to be that way. And it's just easier. It's easier to say heart attack, cremation, let's go.
Keep it moving. And they don't want somebody like yourself to keep the investigation going, because they might find, or you might find, something that they don't want you to find. Just
like, Coach, everybody thought I was crazy on how sick he was. I think I'm maybe onto something with regards to how he died. I really do.
Okay, so we got to take another quick break, but I want you to.
You guys do a lot of breaks. You must have a lot of advertisers.
This is a TV show. This isn't a podcast.
Okay, whatever. Whatever the hell it is. You guys got a lot of breaks, and that means that's a lot of money, and I'm proud of you too.
Well, thank you. On the other side, I want to know what Bubba thinks about the TMZ documentary, what he makes of the wrestling world saying we got to separate the wrestler with the man who was on video using the N-word and everything else, because this man was in the middle of it in Clearwater, Florida. We'll ask him those questions on the other side. Fascinating episode today with the one and only Bubba the Love Sponge. You got it.
Big fan of you, buddy.
We'll be back here with Bubba, continuing live on Stadium. All right, we continue live on our YouTube channel during the break. We have about a 2.5 minute break, Bubba. I want to know real quick, in like a 2-minute story, Was it frustrating for you the last several years knowing what you went through with him and then not to be able to reconcile before he was able to pass away, or was that not important to you?
No, it was very important to me, and I lost everything. I mean, I lost my radio show, I lost my studios, I lost my house, because I was, perceived as the guy that, that let him have sex with his wife, that taped it, that distributed it, that shopped it, that, that did it all. I am guilty of about half of that, but the other half of the equation, these people got away with it. In fact, the guy that leaked it to Gawker and to National Enquirer is the guy that took my job as the morning show host on the local rock station here, and to this day still has my job. And I got a documentary that drops on September 12th called "Video Killed the Radio Star: The Real Truth of the Hogan Sex Tape." It's going to be on, iTunes, Apple, all the places, and it gets into the sex tape more so than anybody has ever covered it, because Hogan took 2 bites at the apple. He sued Gawker, which is the people that distributed it, and then he went and sued Don Buchwald, which is Howard Stern's agent, and Cox Media, but that settled, and Jennifer, his ex-wife, I've talked to. I know the amount. He got $52 million for that.
Wow.
Cox gave him $52 million for that, and he ended up taking $9 million home from the Gawker, $31 million. But after legal fees and all of his paying Peter Thale, he took home $9 million on that. So he did 61. This tape made him $61 million bucks, and it just. I just wish he would have not buried me so bad, because I did one. I mean, during depositions, he's giving me the office, like he's literally giving me the office during depositions. And I'm just over there singing like a canary, just, saying whatever it takes to make him look good, knowing that that's probably going to be my way back to his friendship. And he never could be my friend, because everybody would think we would have been in.
I got to jump in. We're going to be back live on network TV in 5 seconds. Vince, I'm going to put it right over to you, pal. All right, welcome back, everybody. The Coach and Bro Show here on Stadium, Amazon Prime, DirecTV, YouTube TV. A fascinating episode with Bubba the Love Sponge, a really central figure in the life and times of Hulk Hogan. Vince, I know you got another question.
Yeah, Bubba, I want you to clarify this for everybody that doesn't know, because I really think this part of it absolutely sucked, because you had to live with this for so long. And this is really the reason Brooke called in. Bubba, tell everybody what Brooke called in to tell you that Hogan did not tell us and did not let us know. And you had to live with it for I mean, how long was it, Bubba, the tape? 15 years ago? Is 13, that how long it was?
13
Tell everybody
years.
Exactly what Brooke called in for, what Hulk told her concerning you about that sex tape, to clear the name once and for all.
So first of all, Vince, I got goosebumps on the topic in itself. So thank you for setting me up for it. But, with regards to the sex tape, everybody thinks that I'm the one that did it all. And because the distribution of the sex tape that story was never told, because that lawsuit, Hogan v. Cox Media, Don Buchwald Associates, that settled. So, when a lawsuit settled, you don't get any of the juicy details, the depth in any of that. Well, so when Hogan, when the sex tape got stolen from me, the people that had it immediately got a hold of Hogan and wanted to extort him for $1 million and say, hey, listen, for $1 million, we will give you the tapes, and what's on these things, including you saying the N-word. It's not going to be good for you. So Hogan immediately, through David Houston, called at the FBI, as he should. And it's like, listen, I'm being extorted by whoever has these sex tapes. Maybe it's Bubba. I don't know who the hell it is. So the FBI set up a sting at the Sand Pearl Hotel. And when Hogan went, when they were setting him up, the FBI came to his house and wired him. They put a wire on him and all this kind of deal. Hogan goes to the Sand Pearl. They find out who the people are behind it, or they at least find out one thing. They find out that it's not me. So they find it was a guy named Keith Davidson and another radio personality in town that was extorting him. So they arrest those guys, And then because it was Hulk Hogan and Bubba as victims, the FBI and the DOJ never filed charges on these people because you got a shock jock and a pro wrestler as a victim, and it was going to be a circus, they said. So these guys got away scot-free. But when Hogan went home that night to Jennifer and Brooke, Hogan said, you know what? I got to give credit. It's Bubba didn't do it. Bubba's not the one that's trying to get this thing out. Bubba didn't do it. And so I never knew that he had that conversation. I never knew that he had that mindset.
Wow.
And he told Brooke that, so in December of 2012, when they did the FBI sting, he knew from that point forward that, I was half the bad guy, but not the all of the bad guy. And had he just made that public by whatever means, it would have changed my trajectory tremendously. I would have kept my job. Hell, I can't go to any wrestling shows backstage, and I am absolutely hated. I mean, I used to be friends with Jericho. I used to be friends with some of the Tampa boys, and I'm considered, just a bad guy for what I did to Hogan, for what they think I did to Hogan. So he could have really thrown me a little bit of but he was so narcissistic and so worried about public perception that had he done that, he was afraid that then people would think, oh, Bubba and Hogan were in on it. It was a gimmick. Right. They set it up, and that's not the truth. But it wouldn't have changed when they interviewed the jurors after he won his $141 million. The jurors said, had he known about being taped or had he not known about being taped, this was about invasion of privacy. So it really had no bearing on whether he knew he was taped or not. So that was the call that Brooke made to me that really was quite emotional.
Yeah, I was standing in the Jacksonville airport at 2:00 in the morning listening to it on my phone. It was incredible because it was released on. We only have a few minutes left, so I got to ask this because TMZ just did the documentary, and Vince McMahon was seen for the first time, Bubba, and he said that Hulk Hogan was absolutely not a racist. I was in the room when he apologized so he could go on the Saudi Arabia show in 2018. You were around him his entire adult life. Yes, he was on video using the N-word multiple times. Was Hulk Hogan, in your mind, was he ultimately a racist?
No, not at all. But I don't think he handled the apology the way he could have. He could have babyfaced and made it a little bit more. He could have sold it a little bit harder and been a little more convincing and actually been a little more proactive and done some HBCU stuff like Mark Henry had suggested.
Yeah, he wanted him to. Yeah.
He was not a racist, but he didn't handle the crisis control of that very well, I don't think.
Vince, you got one more?
I just want to say, man, Bubba's, he really has lost a lot in this. But the one thing I want to say about Bubba that he has said over and over and over again, and this is why I will always respect Bubba. He has taken full responsibility for his part in all of this. And he has said that over and over. There's no finger pointing. There's no blaming other people. And he always makes sure that is the first thing he says. And, Coach, you and I, we talk about this all the time. Man, we all make mistakes. We all F up. We're not perfect. There's only one perfect person in the history of this universe. And Bubba has always taken responsibility, and that's why I've always had respect for him, man.
Last question, Bubba. And ultimately, when this all shakes out and it's all said and done, what would you like the legacy of Hulk Hogan, or what do you think it is ultimately going to be?
I hope they judge him for what he did for the business. Just like Vince said, we all make missteps, and Hogan made, quite a few. But, if you look at what he did for the business, he laid the foundation of distribution. He laid the foundation of, big pay-per-views. And, although he was never noted for being a good worker, he worked like a big man, just to show his strength, get all the heat you can outside the ring. He just was a great showman. And, I think Vince, who obviously booked him quite a bit, and had some, good times and bad times with Terry. You got to give him his flowers when you put him up there with one of the greatest of all times with regards to what he did for the business. I don't know if the business would be what it is today without what he did.
Agreed.
All right, very good. Bubba, we can't thank you enough for the time today. 45 minutes was absolutely amazing.
We could have gone 2 hours. I'm just telling you that right now.
Well, if you want to go after we're off the air, you and Vince can do it. I got to run. But so hang tight if you want to keep going, because we will and we can.
Yeah. I like to go with Vince because me and Vince are. I'd love to go with Vince for a little bit. If Vince hasn't got like 55 autographs to sign, or some Make-A-Wish kids.
All right, so everybody watching right now, if you want to have the conversation continue, go over to our BTT YouTube page, and Vince will continue the conversation with Bubba the Love Sponge after we get off the air. But in the meantime, producer man, if you just drop him off for a second. Vince, as we wrap things up, we've only got a minute left here on the show here on Stadium. Thank you so much for bringing Bubba in. And Vince, did you get out of it today what you wanted to, Vince?
Yeah, I just want to say this up front. When this interview first started and Bubba said Eric Bischoff killed Hulk Hogan, I laughed because I thought Bubba was kidding.
No,
so I just want to say then I realized he's not kidding.
No, he worked him to death. He worked him to death. Eric Bischoff doesn't have a payday if that wrestling federation doesn't go off. And there was one guy that was going to make that federation go off.
Well, but you and I are going to talk about that on YouTube, because I got some questions I want to ask you about that. Go ahead, Coach.
All right, very, very good. Producer man, give me that
Coach,
one shot.
Coach, good finally getting to meet you, bud. I've been a big fan for a long time.
Too.
For real.
It's great to meet you too. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we started the show. It's not to break down Raw and SmackDown segment by segment. Today was fascinating. If you missed any of it, you can watch it back on demand on our YouTube channel. I encourage all of you to stay on. Go to our YouTube channel. They will continue the conversation with Bubba the Love Sponge. It's such a fascinating, tragic, emotional story that continues to be written. But for now, that's going to do it for this hour. As always, we're here every single Thursday morning live at 11 a.m. on Amazon Prime, DirecTV, YouTube TV. For Vince Russo, for producer man behind the scenes, and of course for Bubba the Love Sponge, I am the coach. We'll see you next time live on the Coach and Bro Show, live as always, right here on Stadium. Have a great day.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, Vince, you continue. I got to run, but thank you. Bubba, great to meet you, buddy.
Hey, Coach, we'll do this again. And when my doc gets ready to drop, like on the 12th or something, maybe I can do a real quick hitter one day.
Great.
We don't do quick hitters. We do full shows with you.
Yeah, and I'll actually send you guys a copy of it. Like it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, but I think you guys will be fascinated. It'll teach you some stuff.
All right, we'll bring you back on 1,000%. All
right, Coach. Thank you.
Meet you, man. All right, be good.
Enjoy
the conversation. See you guys.
Bubba, I want to I was thinking about this, listening to Brooke's phone call. I want to say this, Bubba. Bubba, man, I got in the business in 1991, so we're talking about 34 years. Bubba, I can honestly tell you, in those 34 years, there was one person I did not like, and that was Eric Bischoff. And people think like I hate Jim Cornette. I don't have an issue with Jim Cornette at all. I never had an issue with Hulk Hogan. I do not like Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff did some things to me in the wrestling business that if I told you,
I know. I know some of them because, I would take the ride from Tampa over to Orlando when we were doing TNA, and I heard Eric Bischoff, we can cuss. Can we cuss here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, I would hear him, motherfuck you. The entire 70 miles, he'd be in Hogan's ear trying to, talk about how you're not booking right and how you're not using, aces and eights right and how you're not, just all the shit that, that would just be not real or not, or certainly not fair to you. And so Hogan would be all gummed up and all anti-Russo before he got there. So you'd have the best angle going. And, obviously Hogan and Bischoff, I think at that time, I don't know what the dynamic was when I was there, but I think Dixie had given them, she'd given them pretty much control. And then they were told to work with you. I think that was the dynamic, kind of.
Yeah. Well, Bubba, I've always said this all along. I've always said this from day one. I know I would have had a great relationship with Hulk Hogan if it wasn't Eric.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because him and I did have some private phone conversations where it was just the two of us, and it was fine. He was great talking to. We laughed, we got along, but with Eric constantly
I think you booked the Corpus Christi gimmick, didn't you? Didn't you? Was that your booking?
What was
when
that?
They did the spring break in Corpus Christi? No, that was WCW. That was WCW. I'm sorry.
But I want to ask you this. I want two things I want to ask you that are very, very important. I never will watch an Eric Bischoff video because I know it's just going to piss me off, because I know the guy's full of shit, and I know he's a worker, and I know he's a carny, and I know he's a con man. So I don't watch anything he says because it's just going to piss me off. I came across a video the other day, and it was like headlined, why I stay away from Bubba and why Bubba was such bad news.
Oh, I've seen that from 2 or 3 years ago.
That's what I want to ask you. So Bubba, what narrative did he put out there about you? And was it just about his jealousy towards the relationship you had with Hulk?
Well, I think he's a chameleon. Like he goes with the temperature of Hogan. And so when I was, way over with Hogan, well, then I was, the best. And then when I started having outs with Hogan, now I'm a piece of shit. Eric Bischoff doesn't have a spine with regards to being able to actually have his own opinion and stand by it. He'll go by what the temperature of the room is. And so he just turned on me like he does everybody else that doesn't align with, him or Hogan. And, that I did so many things for that guy. And, I just some shady shit that I can't even really talk about, nor do I want to. But I don't know. He's an opportunist. And like he hooks up with, his little Jason Hervey buddy. They screwed over. I don't know if you heard the conversation, but Brooke lost her record deal because Hervey and Bischoff talked Hogan into dummying up a contract that released her from her deal, so that she had to go do business with Hervey, with a trio of Hervey, Bischoff, and Hogan. So Eric Bischoff got lucky in getting in the business. And that comes from a guy that got lucky to get in the business. Okay. So I had no business of having, I was Hogan's friend. I was a little backstage gimmick, but I didn't put my time in.
Wait a minute, Bubba, I got to interrupt you right there, and then I'm going to let you go. Bubba, I said, listen, you got to understand something. Bro, you and Hogan used to bury me every single day on that show, but I did not know you personally. So when you came into TNA, I am going to treat you the way you treat me, and I'm going to base our relationship on our experience. Bubba, I swear to God, I am not kissing your ass. Bubba, when you came into TNA, and I'm the writer of the show, bro, you're a great freaking heel.
You know where they fucked up? I had real heat.
You did.
Like real fucking heat, where they go, fire Bubba. And if we would have taken a step back and reworked that Awesome Kong, which was a shoot, and got with Kim and say, okay, Kim, we're going to have you beat the shit, like for 4 weeks in a row. You're going to beat the shit out of Bubba. And then we're going to come back with a pay-per-view. Bubba's going to roll you up in like a fucking small package fuck job on you. It's not going to be clean. It's going to be inside. It's going to be like an interference kind of gimmick, which then we'll come back with, then you come back and kick Bubba's ass again when it counts. Loser leaves town. But I was trying to tell Terry one time, I go, Terry, I got real heat.
You did. And listen, we're not just saying that. Anybody can go back and look at the shows. The shows are there, bro. You were a great heel.
I was kind of like God rest his soul, Andy Kaufman.
Yes,
I was kind of like if they had used me correctly, we could have. I mean, I don't know what we could have done with it, but I think if you and I would have been on a better relationship and Bischoff would have been out of the deal,
Yeah.
I think that you could have written some really good. I mean, you being part of the Attitude Era, and you probably one of the very few bookers that recognizes real heat.
Oh, yeah, you would have been, there's no question, Bubba, at one point you would have been in a steel cage with Awesome Khan.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely no question about
and getting
that.
my ass kicked clean in the middle, like fucking like her beating the shit out of me, hardway juice, whatever the fuck, just we would have done it all. I would have done a blade job for her. It would have looked so good. Oh, my God. And you know what better than to have a fat ass, loudmouth shock jock getting his ass kicked by a woman?
It would have been tremendous.
It could have been a ratings getter.
Absolutely. Bubba, I do want to ask you this, because when you were talking to Brooke, she brought this up a couple of times. She kept talking about Hulk's handlers. When she's talking about Hulk's handlers, is she talking about Eric Bischoff as being one of those handlers? I didn't want to assume that, so I'm asking you the question.
That's number one. Number one handler's Bischoff. Number two handler's Sky. Number three handlers are the investment people in the beer company, which were a couple of really, really big highway, really, really, really powerful guys that defected out of Anheuser-Busch. Supposedly one of the Bush guys, like the original Bush family, they were super big on Hogan doing a beer through the Anheuser-Busch brand. And two of their major presidents or vice presidents defected, and they're the ones that formulated and came up with. So Hogan was like this is stuff that people don't know. Hogan was kind of originally on a handshake deal with Anheuser-Busch, which I think is now called InBev, which has been, like the hugest beverage company in the world. And he had an original deal with one of the Bush guys, and these two underlings of him, but high up, said, fuck it, we can take Hogan, do our own beer, and not be connected to Anheuser-Busch. So I think the beer investors, but Bischoff was so fucking worried about this bullshit jobber wrestling promotion. Listen, I got news for you. And folk style wrestling just like I do. It's not pro wrestling. It's not going to draw a crowd unless you go to the Iowa State Iowa match or the Penn State Cornell match. I mean, there's 5 or 6 universities that can maybe sell 7,500 to 10,000 tickets on a NCAA Division I deal, but globally it's not going to work. And he was, I think, pushing Hogan so hard on this that I think that handler number one. Now let's just not take this wrestling promotion, but let's look at everything that Bischoff has attached his wagon to with Hogan.
And let me say this, but Bubba, just so you know, like I wrote a book and it's coming out next summer, and it's called Total Nonstop Agony. And it's really about what happened when Bischoff and Hogan came into TNA. And Eric Bischoff has gone on the record as saying, Dixie Carter wanted Hulk Hogan. She wanted Hulk Hogan. Eric Bischoff was not even on her radar.
I was in Terry's gym when Dixie made the first phone call.
Yes.
And Hogan wagon wheeled Bischoff into the deal.
Exactly. And then
Bischoff she didn't give a fuck about Bischoff. She had her right. In fact, I don't mean to interrupt you, but one of the big sticking points was Dixie stuck up for you. He had her on speakerphone, and Dixie's like, Terry, I got a writer. I got Vince. Yeah. And he's like, well, I got to have my guy in here, at least handling my shit. And, maybe him and Vince can work together. So he had Dixie believing that you and Eric could coexist.
Yeah.
That's how he hard sold it to Dixie.
And then Eric has gone on the record as saying, I didn't even want to be there. Well, you sure had no problem taking freaking Dixie's money for somebody that didn't. Then the guy wonders why I have no respect for him. You didn't want to be there. You acted like you didn't want to be there, but you're taking her money. But Bubba, what are we missing that Hogan saw in Bischoff when you and I are seeing something completely different? Is it just the fact that from the start of that relationship, Bischoff made Hulk a lot of money? Is that what it was all based on?
Partly, but also Bischoff would never tell him no. Bischoff was instrumental in getting that bullshit creative clause. He was huge on that. Hogan always put a ton of credibility in that. We know the shit show that ended up being. I mean, single-handedly, Hogan's creative control clause probably is 1/3 to half of the demise of WCW. I mean, having that, total control, being able to, that doesn't work for me, bro. I mean, how many times did you hear that? And so he credits Bischoff, who at that point, what answer was it? Bill Shaw? Was that the guy's name? Or I forget who.
Bill Bush.
Bush.
Yeah.
So Bischoff had established himself in good with him, which would rubber stamp any deal Hogan would go for. So, basically Bischoff was kind of his henchman in Atlanta with regards to, and so at that point, he was just kind of like a nasty boys tag on. When Hogan came to TNA, I probably had no business being there. Nasty Boys probably had no business being there. Who else did he bring in? Of course, Jimmy, but Jimmy, I think, I really think Jimmy could still work. I mean, I think I think the fans will always love Jimmy Hart. Like, I mean, Jimmy,
I agree with
Jimmy could roll up in a fucking wheelchair and a lark, and as long as he's got his megaphone, Jimmy's Jimmy.
I agree.
Jimmy's one of the Hogan hanger-oners that I actually think can hold his own weight. Brutus couldn't. Fucking Nasty Boys couldn't. I wasn't even a factor or a worker. I was just an add-on. But his alliance to Bischoff came with Bischoff just constantly always telling him what he wanted to hear. Hogan now, if you know Hogan the way I did, you knew that he was, and I hope people don't get mad at me, but he was kind of a pussy when it came to confrontation. When it came to actually having a man-to-man confrontational talk, he was kind of a pussy about it. Here he is, this big hulking 6'6", 290-pound guy, but he hated confrontation. So that's why he loved that creative control clause, because he didn't have to hammer out any finishes with you. He could just tell you, Vince, it doesn't work for me, bro. And it wouldn't be confrontational. You had to go back, put your tail between your legs, and go fucking rewrite 2 hours of TV in 36 minutes. And so Hogan, Bischoff kind of was his buffer of all of that bullshit. And then once they got down the line with WCW, and then Jason Hervey jumps in and they do a couple, TV projects, Hogan Knows Best, all this kind of shit. Bischoff is the ultimate hanger-oner, is what he is. And you on the other hand, and listen, Vince, you and we didn't really like each other at TNA. I mean, we really didn't. We were respectful to each other, and you knew that I was a necessary evil, but you didn't bullshit. You don't fucking bullshit. And if you don't like something, I can remember one time Terry Taylor was saying something in the back, pitching you with something. I think it might have been with the girls division or something. And you said, no, Terry, we're not doing it that way. Here's why. And when you left, Terry Taylor kind of motherfucked you, but it ended up being the right angle. Like what you said was the better angle. So the one thing that I always liked about you is that talent or agents always knew where you didn't ever like double cross them and change an angle behind a guy's back. What you said is what you did. And you were a man of your word, and people knew where they stood with you. If you had heat with somebody, you tell them, I got heat with you, bro. I mean,
Bubba, I'm going to tell you an interesting story, just so you know, leading up to Bash at the Beach. Okay. Prior to Bash at the Beach, we had a creative meeting. I went around the creative meeting and I said, right now, if you could put the title on anybody, who would it be? Unanimously, everybody in that room said Booker T. unanimously. There was no other name. It was Booker T. So now, as the creative guy and the writer that was responsible, I leave those meetings knowing we're putting the title on Booker T. That's what we agreed on. So now I've got to write.
Who's a hell of a hand, by the way.
Absolutely.
I mean, great kid.
So now I got to write the Bash at the Beach script. So I write Hogan's part of the script. This is what I need you to do. I now have to give it to Johnny Laurinaitis, who's going to contact Hulk, and Hulk is going to say yay or nay. Okay.
So it goes to Palm Harbor. That's where Johnny lives, which is about 20 minutes from Terry's house.
Yes.
Because I remember there was a few times Laurinaitis actually came down to the house and would try to hard sell him on some shit.
Yeah,
He'd actually try to get in his car and get it done. You know,
I'm sure. So I come up with version 1. Hulk poo-poos it, and here's Hulk's deal. He wants to leave with the belt. He's trying to leave with the belt. And I'm saying...
And you know why? And you don't even know the backstory of that. Do you know why he wanted to leave with the belt?
I'm assuming because he got a huge payday every time he appeared on TV.
But it was also... This is something you don't even know.
Go ahead.
You know, he didn't bring Nick... He didn't bring Nick and Nick's friends to very many pay-per-views at all. You know that. He didn't bring, Nick, it was Nick's spring break, and he was bringing Nick to Bash at the Beach. Nick and the Morrison boys were at the Bash at the Beach, and he wanted to win the strap in front of the kids. You didn't even know. You didn't even know.
I did not even know that.
We talked about that all week. He's like, brother, I got to have that strap. So, typical narcissistic, like the strap doesn't mean shit, really. Right. I mean, at the end of the fucking day.
Yeah. So Bubba, he X-nays the first one. No problem. I go back to the drawing board.
Just out of curiosity, what was your first finish on your first one?
He looked strong as hell, but did not win the belt.
Right, maybe on a fuck job or some kind of interference deal. Yeah,
so,
which is what you always had to do with Hogan. God forbid he do one clean, right?
Yeah. so Bubba, I write version number 2.
Right,
bro. In version number 2, Hogan's King Kong.
Right.
He stretchers out Jarrett. He stretchers out Steiner. He freaking kills everybody, but he doesn't leave with the belt.
Right. He gets there's a fuck job on that deal. He loses the belt, but he fucking looks like King Kong.
Kills everybody.
That would have been a great finish.
Well, so here's what happened. Laurinaitis comes back to me. Vince, Hulk says it's a go.
Okay.
It's good with him. He'll do it. Okay, this is like late Thursday, early Friday.
Right.
Okay. So here's what I find out in deposition, Bubba. This is what I find out in deposition. On Friday, we are all leaving for the pay-per-view.
Right.
We're all headed out on Friday. Bro, he has his attorney.
Henry Holmes. Fucking Holmes.
Send a fax to
after
the office.
5 o'clock.
After 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
After 6 o'clock. So
and the reason I know that is because I was at his house when he fucking called Henry and said, send it now. It was like 6:02.
Yeah.
Send it now.
So this fax is sitting on the floor in the office of WCW throughout the entire weekend. I show up at WCW. All I know is Hogan's agreed to the finish.
Second finish.
Bro, we are like literally, Bubba, 90 minutes from the show. 90 minutes. Bischoff comes up to me. Oh, bro, you better go in the trailer and talk to Hulk. He's not doing the finish. I'm like, what are you talking about? He agreed to do. That's what pissed me off. Not his creative control. He agreed to do the finish. Now you're going to tell me 90 minutes before the show he's not going to do it? But bro, that's how they worked. Like,
not only that, but I mean, that finish. Now listen, you saved face with what you did, but that finish would have been King Kong.
Absolutely.
That finish would have probably maybe pivoted the company a little bit. It would have made it more believable. It was, like you said, he was King Kong. It would have made great for Booker T, who deserved the strap. And you know what? So, like, I don't know what happened unless it was Bischoff that got in his mind, because I didn't go to that pay-per-view. But I don't know what happened other than he did tell me that he wanted his kid to be able to see him.
I never heard that.
But you do remember Nick being backstage, don't you?
Yeah.
Because security, when you were cut your promo, supposedly security whisked him out because he didn't want Nick to hear you shooting on him. Remember, you shot on him too, bro.
Bubba, let me walk you through this. So now, bro, Bubba, think about the spot I'm in. Now it's the three of us in the trailer.
You, Bischoff,
and Terry. That's it. The three of us. They had already called Brad Siegel.
Oh, okay. Second in command.
To pitch what they wanted to do. They had already called them before we even had a conversation. So, Bubba, I am standing there now, and Hogan starts.
And they had already called Siegel.
They had already called him.
Right.
So, Bubba, I'm standing there now, and Hogan's pitching to me what he wants to do. Immediately, Bubba, I am hearing he wants to leave with the belt.
Right.
In my mind, bro, you're not leaving with the belt. Bub is leaving. Book is leaving with the belt. You're not leaving with the belt. You're not. So Bubba, one thing that he said to me was, if this were a shoot, that's what triggered my mind. Okay. And I looked at him and I said, Hulk, if this were a shoot, let me tell you how this would go down. I would leave this trailer. I would go tell Jeff Jarrett, Hogan doesn't want to do the job for you. Fuck him, Jeff. Lay down for Hogan. Let him put his foot on you and let him leave with the belt. I said, Hulk, this is so key, Bubba. I said, now, Hulk, you would be so pissed off at me for showing you up like that you would take the belt, you and Eric would leave the building. I said, Hulk, here's why you got to leave the building. Because I am going to go out there, cut a scathing promo on you.
Call him a piece of shit.
Yeah, I said I'm going to cut a scathing promo on you because I've got to make sense of the Jarrett Booker match. And I said, if you're in the building, you got to come out there and kill me. So right. you got to leave the building with Eric. Otherwise, you'd have to come kill me.
Right.
I said, so I will cut a scathing promo on you to make sense out of the Jarrett Booker match. Now, Bubba, you know him well enough.
He turned that all around as if he didn't even know about it.
Bubba, let me tell you something. So, Bubba, you know this about Hulk. When he liked something, his eyes would open up real wide. So
and sometimes he'd go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Remember? Yes. If he really likes something, he'd go, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah. So, Bubba, his eyes go real wide, and he goes, brother, I like that. Then I'll have a belt, and Booker will have a belt, and me and Booker can do something with the belts
down the line.
And I said, Hulk, let's get through tonight. As soon as I get back to Atlanta, I will call you and we'll talk about where we go from there. And on my children, everybody that means anything to me, I wholeheartedly was going to do that.
And I think one time, the last time I had you on, you said one of the things that you regret is that you didn't call him fast enough, because had you thought maybe you could have maybe stopped the bullshit.
But Bubba, here's the reason I didn't call him. I go back to the office with every intention to call him. Brad Siegel calls me in his office. Vince, what happened? I laid out everything to Brad Siegel as it happened. He goes to me, how did you leave it with Hulk? I said, Brad, I'm supposed to call him today to go over creative. Brad Siegel, the head of TBS and TNT, looks at me. This is exactly what he said, Bubba. Vince, you can't call Hulk. We can't afford to put him on TV.
And had he already given him notice? Had he already faxed them notice that he was going to sue him?
I don't believe at that point he did. Brad just said, you can't call him because we can't afford to be him on TV. That's why I didn't place the call. Because I didn't place the call, now he's suing me saying he knew nothing about the promo.
And lost. That's the one thing in the business that people don't know is the sue job. And he got his ass kicked. I think it got summary judgment. I think it got thrown out.
Mine got thrown out twice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Him trying to sue you for defamation of character, slander, all that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, how do you defame somebody in pro wrestling?
By calling them by their gimmick name. I never called him Terry Bollea. I was referring to Hulk Hogan.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the judge's ruling is this is pro wrestling.
Exactly.
Like, how can it be defamation on pro wrestling?
Yeah.
When you call everybody, you motherfuck everybody, and you don't know what's you don't know what's real. You don't know what's you don't know if it's real blood, fake blood, hard way. So I was so then that Monday, because you heard it, and we've just been my producer since Hogan died. We've just been throwing shit, on the best of shows and making reels of when he used to call the show and shit. And they happened to get one that you heard of. Yeah. And so when you DM'd me, I'm like, Vince, that please know that I don't believe that. That was just so. But so Monday, after that all went down, he calls me up. And I wasn't there, so I don't know any of this. I don't know any of your side of the story. I just know what he's like, brother, it was really bad, man. Vince Russo was cutting promos on me, and my kids had to hear it, and security had to rush me out of the building, and I already got a call in the Tiz earner and all that kind of shit. And you know what? You know what it kind of resembled? What he was setting himself up for was what he tried to do to Taker. Remember when he tried, and remember when he did the Taker sputted me gimmick in San Antonio? Yeah. Remember that? Yeah. Well, he really had a family vacation that Linda had planned, and he needed 2 or 3 weeks off. That's what the real story was. So he comes up with this Taker sputted me. It was in Detroit, I think, at Joe Louis Stadium. And remember, Taker was all freaked out because he thought he fucked the Golden Goose up and the whole 9 yards. And then like 3 days or 4 days later, Shane showed him the tape, and he had him snug and it was perfect. But Hogan would always work that bullshit, to get either time off or to, make himself look good. And but the wrestling community really doesn't know life after Bash at the Beach. They only kind of know what they saw. And then I think you've been pretty good about getting your side of the story out, but people don't realize that Hogan's ulterior motive on the entire deal was to sue Turner to get out of his deal, because he knew that if he didn't sue him, they were going to sever his contract because they couldn't afford to pay him. It was it 1.2 million per. It was 1.2 million plus a percentage of buy rate, plus 50% of his merch, plus 25% of the next guy's merch. Right. I mean, it was the biggest fuck job ever. Whoever. I mean, and I think Bischoff brokered that deal. So that's why he goes and sucks Bischoff dick so much. That's why. And Bischoff never ever even gave you a chance. He never gave you a chance.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. That's what I said in my when I wrote that book. I said, listen, man, don't get me wrong. I am sure Eric Bischoff is a great father. I am sure Eric Bischoff is a great husband. I'm sure there are people that love Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff made the decision, Bubba, to be an absolute dick to me. He made that decision. He was a dick to me from day one. That was a conscious decision that he made.
Well, he had to. He had to, because you, at the end of the day, were as good, if not better, of a booker than he was, and so you were immediate competition.
Right.
And he could not let his guard down with you and work with you. He had to bury you, because you could do what he did, and if he didn't make his skills unique, then that didn't make yours unique. You know what I'm saying? If
I know exactly what you're saying, and that's the wrestling business. That's the wrestling business.
To a point. I mean, I don't think Vince allowed it as much as Turner did. I mean, I think Vince wouldn't put up with that shit. Vince could see through that shit.
Absolutely.
Like if you had a guy in the back, that was fucking, like I don't know who the agents were when you were writing there, but whether it's Pritchard or whoever, if you had a good angle and you had a good storyline, Vince would back you up tooth and nail. He'd be like, no, we're going with that. That's good as fuck.
Well, Bubba, that's why I had my most success at WWE, because I was making Vince money and he had my back.
Right.
I never had to worry about politics in the WWE because Vince made it clear, if you F with Russo, you're effing with me.
Right.
So nobody F with me. Once I went to WCW, it was freaking gloves off, man.
And I almost feel like I wish you wouldn't have gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost feel like I wish you just wouldn't have gone, just because it didn't do shit for you. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like you didn't have your full control. You weren't able to book the way you wanted to book. You always had that fucking Bischoff Hogan deal, which was a two-headed monster that you just, you had to fuck. I mean, you literally could not write. You couldn't write for Hogan because you never knew if he was going to accept it or not. Anything short of, okay, walk out, grab a hold, throw the guy over the ropes, squash him, give him the boot, and go home. That's the only fucking thing he wanted to do. I can remember being backstage with Hall and Nash and the NWO deal, and those motherfuckers got so lazy that they didn't want to work. And so, they would, laryngitis or somebody would come in and be like, okay, you guys are going to go out there. You guys are going to spend 5 minutes on the hard camera, cut a promo, a couple run-ins, couple yippee-yo, high spot fucking deal. And then Scott Hall, Nash was never bad. Nash always wanted to work, but Hall would go like, man, bro, that sounds like a real buzzkill having to work tonight. Right. Man, having to clothesline and drop a boot sounds like a real buzzkill to me, brother. Let's just go out and cut promos and be done with it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you saw that all the time, right?
The one thing about Kevin that I used to love, you could lay anything out to Kevin and it would always end with, okay, fine, you want me to do that? No problem. How much you paying me? That's all Kevin cared about. He'll do whatever you want him to do. How much?
Even at TNA, when he was at TNA, man, he was always like, brother, man, you don't think we can come back with more money on this deal? You don't think if we do this one right, because for a minute I was like with the band, that little band gimmick I was doing. And so like Terry Taylor or somebody would like do something to Kevin and Kevin be like, all right, bro, so you think we can come back on a pay-per-view and maybe make a few more dollars on that deal? He was a smart businessman.
My God, he's brilliant.
He's one of my you know what? Him and Taker are probably two of my favorites. Did you work with Taker a lot?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What now? See, there's a dude that really gets the business.
Yeah,
and he knows. You never heard Calloway if he had to do a job and it made sense because you're coming back with something, something hot on the deal. He wouldn't give you a hard time.
Nope, and he had the respect of everybody.
Did I ever tell you my Taker story? Where I was a dark match here in Tampa.
No.
So the Sun Dome here is where University of South Florida is, and it fits about maybe $9,000, $10,000. And I was the local hotshot radio personality, hanging out with Hogan a little bit. And back in '92, remember Tom Stone, the jobber out of Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think I do.
Tom Stone would remember Vince and Vern and those guys would have like these regional jobber guys. And they would line up like 6 or 7 of their local guys just to come in and do a straight job. Just, like get $200, $300, but so I got trained through Tom Stone in Milwaukee in 1991, and it was just to do high school arenas. So it was me, this radio guy who, I mean, I knew like, 5 moves. How to tie up, how to grab a headlock, how to fucking do a reverse, how to basically wrestle like a big dude.
Right.
In corner splash, a scoop slam, show a strength, go off the second rope with the sofa splash. But we would fucking kill high school. So remember the Texas Hangman, and So we had all these regional guys from Milwaukee, and they kind of taught me, a little bit about the business, and we would sell out these high schools like 3,000-4,000 because I'd be on the radio, and the Texas Hangman would be calling me up saying, "Listen, you fat ass, I'm going to kick your ass, you bet." And then we would tie it into the football team where they would sell tickets and get a portion of the proceeds. But the boys would make like $500-600 on a local show. Because of I was like the main draw because I was the local radio dude. Right. So that's where I got trained. And so I had limited skills. Well, Texas Hangman ends up moving down here to Tampa, and, Vince and wanted to, somehow it got word that I knew how to work a little bit. So I think it was Jerry Briscoe. Briscoe and I had become friends, and I'd been down to the Sportatorium a few times back when it was open, and hung out a little bit. And I told Jerry, I said, "Jerry, I can do some stuff. I mean, I can do some shit." So he made me hit the ropes and made me take a bump, and fucking goddamn, the Sportatorium had straight wood too. Like, oh my God, it gave you a fucking headache if you bumped right. Yeah. So they booked me to be the dark match at the Tampa house show. Was not a TV show, it was a house show. Right. And they would never do well on tickets. They'd sell like, that's when they had Skinner and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and all that kind of deal. And they would do a house show and they'd sell about 4,500 tickets. Well, I got on the air and I would, in Tampa, and I fucking blew it up. I'm going to fucking wrestle Texas Hangman. He cut promos on me, sold the fucking place out. Right. So I got Pat Patterson in the back and Briscoe's back there. Yeah. And Mark is can hear what the bookers are saying. So Pat Patterson comes to me. He doesn't know me from shit. Right. He's like, "Listen, local DJ, I want you." I was gonna remember the Mean Street Posse. Remember those dudes? Yeah. So they were the opening. They were gonna be. I was gonna wrestle one of them, and he was gonna completely fuck me up. Just lock up. I was going to grab a head. He was going to reverse it. He's going to throw me in the ropes, going to clothesline me. And it was going to be like a 3-minute crush match. Just get my ass kicked. Because Pat Patterson was old school. He's like, "We're not going to let some fucking local yokel fuck
get anything in.
Yeah, like this is not good for the business. For a fucking local radio guy to beat one of our guys on our talent roster." So I was just happy that I was getting ready to, I was going to be able to be in a WWE. Oh, and Briscoe was the special referee. Oh, okay. So I was just happy. I didn't give a fuck if I took one clean. I was going to wrestle for WWE. Right. So they got it all. It's just going to be. So Taker goes, "Pat, let me ask you a question." So we got this, and so that's when Calloway lived in Tampa. So he had heard me talking about it. So he had heard me just promoting the hell out of it, giving WWE all these free commercials. I was #1 in town. I was syndicated all throughout Florida. So Taker goes, and I really didn't know Mark at the time. And he goes, "Pat, let me ask you a question business-wise. So the dude that worked his ass off to sell the place out." Now he goes, "Do you remember last July we were here? We did 5,100. Right. And Pat's like, "Yep." And he goes, "So the dude that's busted his ass, and it's a fucking dark match. It's not a TV match. We're not on TV. It's a house show. Right. You're going to bury that guy in his own hometown, which means we can't come back with him next time and be strong. We've buried him." Right. And Pat goes, without missing a beat, "So listen, Bubba, you're going to clothesline the guy. Can you go off the second? And and the Mean Street Posse's like, "What the fuck's happening? We're doing a job for this fucking radio guy." And Briscoe's like, "I'll be out there, kid, to make sure it goes the right way and everything." Yeah. So I went over there, grabbed the fucking hold, threw him in there, fucking hit a boot, did a scoop slam, went off the second, got my hand raised, fucking crowd went crazy. And the next time we sold out the ice Caesar's Palace, but Mark Calloway stuck up for me because he knew it was a house show and it was a dark match. And he's like, hey, we're here to do business. And this guy sells tickets.
Awesome. That's a great story.
But that's a guy that knows the business, right?
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
To differentiate, the business from making money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I never will forget what he did for me because I was gonna get fucking squashed.
Yeah,
I was gonna get squashed. Boy, the Mean Street Posse, they in the back, I had my own little locker. They wouldn't fucking talk to me all night long. They were so mad. They were so mad at me.
Bubba, I don't even know if you know this or not because it was very, very traumatic at the moment. And I don't know if you know this or not. Bubba, do you know that I was the one that pulled Kong off of you?
Yes. Okay. And so listen, she's throwing fucking haymakers on me.
Bro, I say this all the time, but Bubba, I was saying it back then. I've been saying this for the last forever. First of all, I'm shooting a pre-tape, maybe about 100 feet away.
Yeah, and that it was real dark. Remember,
really dark. Yeah. And I'm hearing this commotion, and I thought it was like two wrestlers with heat on each other. I go over there, bro, and freaking Kong is mauling you.
Yeah, she's fucking spud the shit out of me. And Scott Hall's there. And you know what he says? He goes, bro, I think this is a shoot. I didn't see this. I didn't see this on the pre-tape sheet.
and I always say this about Bubba, bro. Bro, all you were trying to do was freaking protect yourself.
Oh, yeah, because I was thinking to myself, if I start, if I start fucking throwing hands, which I'm gonna, and I beat up a girl or I even hit a girl, so I gotta take it.
Yes,
and there's been all these reports that she really whipped my ass and I was a pussy. And the whole fucking 9 yards,
No. I knew exactly what your mindset was, but I had to rip her off of you, bro.
And do you remember the time when Mick Foley was leaving for a while and I had to be the guy that said, don't let the door hit you in the ass? Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, so they had it all set up, and if you got a chance, Google it. Mick Foley beats the shit out of Bubba. Okay. But so it's right there at that one main door where the main studio was, and he's saying bye to Jeremy Bordash, and he's saying bye to Mick. He's saying bye to Mick Foley. No, it's Mick Foley. Right. And Mick Foley's saying goodbye to Aces and Eights, and who's the macho guy? Kind of the
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal. And then I'm the last guy, and automatically the crowd starts going, fire, Bubba, like they're fucking with me. Right. And he goes, I go, Mick, good working with you. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. And he comes and just and he laid the best. It was the best looking punch. Yeah. I mean, he didn't even touch me, but it looked so fucking good. I take a bump into the chalkboard. And then for the minute and a half or 2 minutes, the makeup ladies come and they airbrush me like I got my nose broken.
Right.
And so then the shot opens back up like I got my nose broken. And you wouldn't believe how much email I got from people saying, about fucking time you fat ass got your fucking nose broken. And like, I mean, I wish we could have worked together because you would have booked me as a heel, and I mean I would have more I'd be more of a heel than Heyman. Like
yeah, man, you definitely had the heat, man. It was great.
So what have you been up to nowadays?
Man, Bubba, I'm so thankful, man, because I've been podcasting over 10 years now, man. I've never had to go back to the business. I've never had to rely on them. I've got a great subscription base. I left TNA in 2012 and I never went back. I've been doing this
early because I got fired in 11.
Yeah, no, I left in 2012 and it was, I just, between Pritchard and Hogan and Bischoff, I couldn't do it no more, man. It wasn't any fun for me. So I just left,
And you were early in on podcasting, so that's probably doing pretty good. Now, do you do any of the shows, any of that, or do you stay away from those? Like the con, like the wrestling.
Oh no, I totally stay away from those. Totally, I just here, man.
I mean, have you? And Bischoff does it, and I don't know what he makes with where he'll do like like a question and answer kind of deal.
Yeah,
Do you get out and do stuff like that?
I just sit right here, man, and do my podcast. I don't want to get back into that, man. I'm completely happy doing what I'm doing.
How about the kids?
Oh yeah, but everybody's out now. I got
empty nester, so you can walk around nude all day.
I've been DMing you, bro. We got to try to hook up more, man. I love talking to you, man. You're such a freaking entertainer, and you're so funny. We got to do more.
I'd love to do like every couple weeks. I do your show, and then next week you do my show.
Absolutely.
And just straight bullshitting about the business, and so I got a good friend of mine. I became friends with him, and do you think he's ever going to get another shot? And my answer is probably not, because of TNA. I'm sorry, because of UFC buying, WWE. But I became close with Matt Riddle.
Oh, he's talented, man.
I've worked with him a little bit at the gym, and he's a fucking shoot style. He's a stud. But I don't think I think he kind of fucked himself.
Well, Bubba, he's one of those guys like we just saw with Karrion Kross. Yeah. Bro, if you're one of those guys that are not going to fall in line, you're not going to do well there. Matt Riddle is not a yes, sir, no, sir, I'm going to fall in line guy. He's not that guy. And that's what Triple H wants, man. And if you're not that guy, man, you're not going to be there. It's that simple.
And Goldberg, so when he had that heat with Goldberg, he told me, he goes, bro, I'll fucking stretch him. I will fucking stretch that dude for real. Because he's an MMA guy. Like he tested like positive for weed, and then cut a promo on Dana on the way out. And little did he know that Dana would end up being the main dude. But right. So we were talking, and he's like, bro, fucking Jericho stretched him. I'll stretch the shit out of that dude. And then he got so arrogant. He said he could stretch Brock, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know. Our show was the first show that talked about Kurt wrestling Brock when they met in the ring that time. I had Kurt on right after it happened, and he had actually talked about how he beat Brock was always skirting him and not wanting to go in the ring, and so the boys were out there walking through their matches and shit, and I guess Brock was out there walking through a match, and all the boys were telling Kurt, hey, he's out there, because Kurt would get to the building a little bit late because he was a veteran. And so Kurt went out there and sneaked out there and tapped Lesnar on the shoulder. And Lesnar was like, fuck, I got to do it now. Yeah. And Kurt said, he didn't win by a lot, but he said he probably won like 8-6, on takedown shit. But I would have loved to have seen that.
Well, shoot, how many pounds did Brock have on Kurt?
Oh, probably 60.
God, easy, man. Yeah.
Kurt, I love Kurt. Was Kurt good? Was Kurt good to work with you?
He out of all the companies, Bubba, he was my favorite person to work with.
Yeah. And Karen was always cool.
Yeah.
Are Karen and do you and Jeff Jarrett keep in touch?
Yeah, we keep in touch through text messages and whatnot. They're still together. They're still going.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm a natural interview, Vince. So I'm interviewing you. You hardly ever get interviewed. You're always asking the questions. But who's your top 3 dudes that are still kind of your dudes?
Bro, I'm like you, Bubba. I watch your podcast. It always comes across on my YouTube. I'm always watching it, bro. I'm like you. There's nothing better than just being able to hang out with your buddies.
Right.
And that's what your podcast is. I've been doing shows for years with Stevie Richards, Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat, Disco Inferno, Al Snow. I've been doing shows with these guys for years and
Al
years.
Snow, boy, people don't give him the credit. I mean, talk about a fucking guy that's so smart on the business.
Oh my God.
Never got the push though. He never got the push, did he?
Yeah, no, but I just finished up my show with him before we came on here. Brilliant mind.
Man, I got to tell you, Vince, I'm so glad that we connected, and I look forward to just bullshitting with you, just because we have some common friends and we have some common ideas, and we both have been kind of bad guy out of the business, so to speak. Of course, you were really in the business, and I tickled it a little bit. But
yeah,
it's fun to pick your brain on some stuff. Next time, I will tell you though, next time I interview you, I'm going to have some actual questions on some shit that you booked. Last question: what is your all-time best in your mind booking?
Yeah, I would say without a shadow of a doubt, and I don't think you'll see booking like this anymore, because back then we really planned things out and we dotted I's and we crossed T's and we really told stories. I think when Rock, joined the corporation and turned heel, because we were telling that story like 3 months prior to it happening, and nobody saw it coming. And that was really, to me, Bubba, that was like storytelling at its best. And what was it, man? It was me and Ed Ferrara, two guys.
That's it.
Two guys, not 20 guys, not boardroom meetings.
That's probably why it worked.
Exactly.
Because it wasn't overthought.
Exactly.
It was you and Ed just saying, this is what we're going to do with Dwayne. This is how we're going to flip him. And I think the Dwayne flip was I agree. That was pretty instrumental, and a lot of people don't give you credit for. A lot of people don't know that you were behind that.
God, a lot of people think I was behind things I wasn't behind.
I know.
Yeah, a lot of people think I was behind Mae Young giving birth to a hand when I was working at WCW at the time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Bubba, we'll definitely stay in touch, man. Thank you so much for coming on today. The producer man's got to run, so we got to end this chat, man. But it's been absolutely great, man.
And medically wise, as far as like the information on what gets disseminated down here, I'll keep you posted on any shit kayfabe. And we got each other's cell phone numbers now, so if I get some shit that you need to know, or vice versa, let's shoot it over to each other, okay, bud?
Absolutely, Bub. And I'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you, Vince. Good seeing you, buddy.
All right, take care.
Bye now.
Bye.